So what we have here is the shed, and I have one coat on pretty much everywhere I could reach just by standing on a small ladder or just reaching, and I got to finish up the first coat on up by the windows. Wanted you to pay attention because I'm going to talk to you a little bit up when I get up there, a little bit about how I'm going around stuff just to kind of keep it a little bit neater. You got to get the paint on there efficiently, and I've used a roller for that, and I'll show you a demonstration of that a little bit later. But you want to make sure that you keep it neat and efficient. To show you a little bit about painting. So, in general, you want to try to get it done relatively as efficiently as possible. So, but you also have to kind of keep it neat and clean. So, what I'm doing right now is I'm doing the edging, pretty much so just around it, just to make sure that I don't have to bump into this part, which is what I want to really paint eventually, like almost like this color, but a little different. And so I want to take a paintbrush and I want to get like a pretty 5-6 inch swath of paint on there so that we can kind of keep it the roller. When I start with a roller, I'm going to roll this because again that's the most efficient way of getting it done, so that we can get this done project and get it done. Talk to you later. Bye. Alright guys, this video is going to be about painting and just trying to be the efficient, most fast but safe way to do it. I stress the efficient thing just because I mean, you want to be doing it for 20-30 hours after 2 coats. You want to get the right tools, get the right prep ready so you aren't having to go up and down the ladder as much as you would normally, and just to make your life a little bit better. If you were a contractor and you wanted to be at least much more efficient, only because time is money. So if you can finish a job in 2 days that might take other people 3 or 4 days, you're going to get 2 jobs done and make a little bit more money. So anyway, to start with prep, let's talk about a little bit about the prep. So on some Okay, so here's our prep stuff. Really just want to make sure, and in my case, I don't have a whole lot of prep because it's mostly new materials. So the prep's minimal. But normally, if you were going to paint a room or any kind of like outside shingles or anything like that, you would want to sand them down a little bit, make sure that actually you would probably want to start with the scraper yet, get all the loose paint off of it, just kind of like on this little piece of wood here, get all the loose stuff off. Use your sandpaper to go back over it, smooth it all out, make sure it's all good. If you have any edging or anything like that around windows, I would tape them off with this painter's tape. It's just a little bit better than say like Scotch tape or masking tape, only because it doesn't pull the paint off. So if you're really painting around something that already has paint on it, say for example like a drywall around a window or something like that, you want to use this tape because it's not going to pull the paint and or the drywall apart. So it's good for that. If you have any kind of caulking around anything to do, this is really good. I got this at Lowe's actually, but I've been caulking along the shed areas that again water would get exposed into, so you want to make sure that you get that all done before you start painting. Another thing that you want to use for painting is just to have a towel around. Usually what I do is I'll take a towel and I'll wet one half of it, like that half will be wet and then the other half will be dry, and that's just so it's a little more versatile, I guess. Now you're starting getting into like really the actual painting. So like, what do you need to paint? Well, I mean, obviously you need paint. So on this, I've got a nice gallon of Sherwin-Williams acrylic paint. It's about $38 a gallon. You can buy paint for anywhere from 38 to, I mean, 128 to around 25 if you really needed something a little bit cheaper. You need some paint stirrers. Just a nice little can opener. It works a lot easier to get the paint cans open. I mean, you can use a screwdriver if that's what you got. You can even use a coin if you got that as well. What I over here is a paint pan. I got a paint roller. I actually like this paint roller because it's extendable, so I can like loosen it and it'll pop back up, and I can tighten it back down. I got some wide brushes, too wide, like flat, just regular paint brushes, and then I got a nice little corner edger. So I use this around like just detail stuff, trying to get up in the corners of a windowsill so you can get up in there. This is really, I like it too because it's kind of flimsy. The handle is real rubbery, so, and it fits right in your hand just like that. It's kind of like boom. It's almost like a pencil. I got a jug, and this jug is actually for a couple different things. I like to soak my rollers after they're done painting. It gets loosened up a lot of the paint fibers that are in the roller, and it makes it a little bit easier to clean a little bit further down the line. This is my prized possession as far as painting is concerned. It's a Wagner power roller. It is the bee's knees, as they say back in the day. But it's this little wand, and all these pieces go together, and it has a roller head on it. It goes just like that. But the cool thing about this is that it sucks paint. So if you can see, it's just a big suction cup, and it sucks the paint up into this big massive tube. As I pull this out, just like that, in this massive tube. So this whole tube will be filled with paint. It's almost like a quarter paint or more, and it squeezes out through these little holes in this roller. You can see there's like all types of perforations and holes in there. So it literally, the paint literally comes out of the roller as you're rolling it on the surface. It's just so much better, especially if you're up in a high place, because you don't have to go up and down the ladder to like get down to your paint pan, which is on the ground, and it just makes life so much easier. And again, that's about being efficient. So that's it. Let's talk a little bit about safety. You also have to have safe ways to get up and down. So you don't want to be like standing on any kind of weird tables or anything like that. So what I have here, these are my set of ladders that I've been using. I have a regular step ladder, which is a 5-foot step ladder, and that's good for just getting up underneath there or something like that. The 8-foot step ladder is good for getting like the mid areas, and then I have an what's called an extendable ladder. And so what you can see is it's on a track, or at least there's two ladders put together like on a track, and these little hooks kind of go up, and they kind of hook onto the next thing. I'll show you how that works. And they hook onto it like that, just like that. There's two of them, one on each side. So. But it'll go up to, I think, 14 feet or something like that. So those are the ladders I've been using. I've also been making sure that whenever I'm moving ladders around, I'm making sure that I'm not hitting the soffit or the fascia. I'm making sure there's no power lines or anything above me or anything like that I would be able to hit with the ladder. I mean, a power line with a metal ladder would not be good. The other thing about the prep I wanted to show you was something over here, which was a drop cloth. I use that in case I do spill like a whole gallon of paint or something weird like that. I've got that. And if you were painting indoors, you would want some sort of drop cloth on the floor or anything, baseboard or anything like that, what you didn't want to get paint on either. So that's it. I'm going to show you the cleanup, and then we're done. Okay, so we're on cleanup now at this point, and since I used an acrylic based or water based paint, it's a little bit easier because we can just have a hose and some running water, and you know, just rinse it out real good. And but I'm going to show you something interesting about what we're going to do with this wire brush in a little bit as well. I think earlier in my video I talked about how I use a jug like this and just cut the top off, and that's for my roller. And if you're using a roller, which I didn't use today, but I will, I usually just take the roller off the roller and stick it in there with and fill that with water. Like I said before, it breaks it down a little bit on the paint. It makes it a lot easier to get out of the roller at the end. I do the same thing kind of with a cup, usually with a brush. I'm using an angle brush just a little bit ago, so I got a decent amount of paint on there. But so usually what I'll do is I'll just fill the cup with a little water and soak it in there too. But I'm not going to do that, but I am going to rinse it out real good with some water, and then I'm going to show you what the brush is all about. All right, so one thing I wanted to show you about the wire brush was that sometimes, can you see that on there? See how there's like paint dried on there? It's going to happen no matter what. It depends on how long you've been painting, like over a course of an hour or so. You're going to get some like deposits up here where it's going to dry. And if you keep letting that happen like that, you know, it's going to ruin the brush, and you really don't want to keep having to dry brushes all the time. So what you do with a wire brush is you can take it, put it down here, and I just do this a couple of times, going with the bristles, not against it, not up against it, and it takes away that paint, and also kind of takes any other paint that you might not necessarily see in the brush, and takes that out as well, and kind of grooms the brush. It's almost like running a brush through your hair, but it makes it nice. It cleans it out. It makes it usable for the next time. So that's another good cleaning tip. Thanks a lot. I'll see you in a bit.